struggling to come to grips with reality. Confusion and chaos have become part of me. I seek answers to know where my liberation lies. Only in peace and calmness does that clarity arise. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. So many voices, so many interpretations. No answers given, only outer temptations. Where can I find that truth inside of me? Realization of what I am is all I'm wanting to see. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. No more redirection, ending the contemplation. Forget fighting reflection. Outer world's a projection. Internal is the cause, external's an effect, put it on pause. I'm silencing the noise, centering, entering void. Truth is beautifully subtle, the voice without a voice. Heart and mind shall settle, making decisions now, escaping illusions of choice. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmission. The wisdom transmissions.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wisdom Transmissions Live. And of course, it's me and Breanne today. We're going to be taking some personal readings today. We're going to be taking some general readings today. We're going to have lots of great, exciting conversations with all of you. If you have burning questions for Breanne or for myself or for Adronis, it's all available here today. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yay.
So Bree, how have you been doing? How has your sessions been going? Any interesting new videos?
It's been doing really well. It's been a really busy last couple weeks here, and yes, sessions have been good. I've been trying to put out some extra videos for you guys, and I'm going to be doing my live stream this upcoming Friday as well. I missed the last two with a lot of crazy schedules going on here, but it's been really well, and I'm excited to be with you today.
Well, excellent. Very good. So before we get started, we're going to do some announcements, and then we'll be getting right into your questions. We already got quite a few donation-based questions, so we're going to be tackling those first and foremost after we do some announcements. So the first one is, of course, the Ancient Egypt Halls of Amenti tour. I think we just have a couple of spots left, maybe about 2 or 3, right? So we're doing really, really well. Like I said, I think we're bringing about 24 to 25 of us through this trip, the Ancient Egypt Halls of Amenti tour. the higher self, the Akashic records, and star ancestor initiations. That's 9 days, 8 nights tour to Cairo. Like I said, we're going to be exploring the Great Pyramid of Giza. We're going to be going in for a private group tour. Again, like I said, we've had a lot of press with the Great Pyramid of Giza and looking into ancient technology underneath the pyramid. So we're going to look more deeper into that. Again, we'll be doing a Nile cruise as well. So Jonas is going to be coming through. He's going to be teaching a lot about Egypt. He's going to be teaching a lot about the Atlanteans. He's going to be teaching a lot about the Akashic records and the halls of Amenti. And of course, we are going to have a star ancestor initiation, which is an initiation to helping you to connect to the halls of Amenti. He's going to be talking more about the hieroglyphs and about what they really represent and the healing capabilities they have too. So Halls of Amenti Ancestral Initiation. This is happening November 8th to 16th this year. You can register at wowtours.de. That's wowtours.de. We only have about 2 or 3 spots left, I feel. So make sure you tackle that and be a part of this exciting tour. It's my first time in Egypt, and it's going to be an unforgettable experience. Okay, moving on. We're going to go ahead and go to AetherX now. So right now we have a 35% off select products. That's basically all the in-house shipping products right now. Select products on AetherX are 35% off until April 26th. We got the brand new print-on-demand AetherX clothing. I'm making a lot more of these as well too. I'm also going to start making products for vehicles as well too. So we're going to have like your floor mat. You're going to have like a cushion for your seat. And these are going to have combination frequencies. They're actually going to be combos of both the earthing frequencies and the safeguards. So that is going to be an amazing benefit. That's going to be coming out later this week. We of course also have the prana beds print on demand. So the t-shirts here and the hoodies are free shipping. The prana bed kits are free shipping as well too. So make sure you take advantage of that. Again, the prana beds have been upgraded. They are in version 2 right now. Then we go to Wisdom Transmissions, services right now, private live sessions, 3 questions by email, full body scan, Akashic record sessions, and energy cord attunement. So you can check that out on wisdomtransmissions.com as well as the online course. And of course, the weekly Adronis classroom that's taking place every Sunday. We have a 7-day trial, so you can always sign up for free for that too. And of course, there's predictmyastrology.com. Like I said, we are doing all 3 types of astrology, Vedic astrology, Western astrology, and Chinese astrology. Okay, and we go down further here, we can see the types of reports that we have available. Personal mantra report, where you're actually working with your mantra. This is actually what they get for people who are doing transcendental meditation, the TM. They would basically charge you hundreds of dollars to get your personal mantra. We do it for 22 bucks. So there. We got personal questions report, we got topics report, love compatibility report, 2025 annual report, and the deluxe report. Okay. So the only one that is just Vedic astrology is this one here, the personal mantra report. All of the other reports are available through Western astrology, Vedic astrology, and Chinese astrology. So again, you can check that out. There will also be another sale coming up here for $20 off of the deluxe report. Okay, so you can check that out at predictmyastrology.com. And finally, of course, as Breanne is here with us, we have readingswithbreanne.com. So how have the clients been that you've been working with?
Oh, phenomenal. I've had really good feedback, quite a few amazing Zooms and even offline sessions. So I also have a bit of a discount still right now for the next 24 hours. So if you guys have not had a session, then come check it out. I appreciate and love you guys.
And of course, you can get 10% off your first session right here with Welcome 10. And she also has freebies as well too. So an online store, sessions, and freebies. You can check that out here with readingswithbreanne.com. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's broadcast. So again, I want to thank you all for being here today. We're just going to go through the questions, and we're just working together with the questions that we have today. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we have. Let me just grab my pen here. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We firstly have a question here from Ben. Thank you for your donation, Ben. Dear Brad and Breanne, can we sell our future building land in the next 3 years after the city council in Dieburg, Germany has repeatedly prevented it in the next 3 years? Well, like I said, we usually we can look at it, but it's usually like we kind of look at things maybe for the first few months. 3 years is quite a long ways down the road. A lot of things can change within 3 years. See, that's the thing about if you're going to a psychic, if you're going to a tarot reader, if you're going to an intuitive right? It's not about getting this one solid reading and thinking that that's going to last you the whole year, right? You may want to come back like every month, come back every couple of months, and get updates. Okay, so that's the same thing with this, especially if we're looking at something that's 3 years down the road. So we can certainly look at it, but like I said, I wouldn't hang our hat directly on what we're sharing with you, simply because everything can change so rapidly, as we know, right? So we're just kind of giving you a heads up about that first. So I'll let Breanne look into it first, and then we can do a follow-up.
Yeah, and I agree with that. When I seen your question, I'm like, it's a fabulous question, but 3 years, a lot can change in 3 years, my friend. So when I'm looking at this, the general energy, it does look a little tough here. I can see we have that Hierophant, and the governments, the councils have those rules and regulations in place here. So we do have the judgment aspecting this, but I do feel like this is causing quite a bit of anxiety, stress. It's not a fun situation, and I feel like there's a bit of a message to kind of release, and you're kind of being guided a little bit with that Eight of Cups to walk away, even maybe on an energetic level as well, because I do think that this may take a bit of time. I don't see this happening in the next couple months, that's for sure.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. I mean, it is a 3-year reading, but whoops. So even the internet's kind of spotty down here too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that again. Sorry guys, our monitor just cut out here for a second, so I'm just rebalancing everything, making sure everything's good here. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. We just had a bit of a brief cutout there with the browser. So anyways, I'm going to look at this here too for the future building land in the next 3 years has repeatedly prevented it. Okay, so let's take a look here. It's going to be a slow process. You guys are going to have to fight for this. Okay, so and if I'm looking kind of in the long-term future, you have to fight. You have to fight. You have to stand up. You have to make your voices heard. You don't just rely on people screwing you around and thinking that you can sit down and take it, right? So when we're looking at Germany here pertaining to the situation of being able to sell your future building land in the next 3 years, and I'm kind of looking ahead in that way, something that I think could stand the test of time over this period is fighting for it, okay? Fight for your right to, not to party, but to sell your land, okay? So make sure you're fighting for it, right? Make sure you're standing up with other people, because there will be a lot of other people just as outraged as you are. Make sure you guys are standing up. You're not going to take it. Said if our leaders are not going to work together with doing what is right, they're out of here, right? And you demand re-election, right? You get again, guys, it's all about democracy, right? It's all about the people. This is not something that is a republic. This is not something that's sovereignty. If that's the case, that's your own thing that you have to deal with. But this is dealing with the hundreds of thousands, the millions of people. You need to stand up and you need to let your voices be heard. Fight for that, okay? It's gonna be very political over the next little while. So you have to stand up and make your voices heard. Okay.
And I will just kind of include, I pulled a couple for the 3 year as well, and it does look like Brad said, we have that working hard card and standing up. So there's definitely a sense of, yes, there is that Ace of Swords at the end of the road here, but it is going to be challenging and standing up.
Yeah, you have to really fight. And that's what I mean, like fight, F-I-G-H-T. It's really big, like fight for it, stand up for it, stand tall, work together with others, and make it happen. And that's not just for this situation, that's for many situations, right? You got to stand up, you got to make your voice heard. All right, thank you, Ben. Let's go to EUM 142. They say, hi guys, I want to get out of working for a living thing for good. If I keep doing TTT and WLB, which is white light breath, and TTT is trauma transcendence technique, on a regular basis, will that be enough to succeed, or there is something else I should be aware of? No. Okay? That's not what I'm teaching you guys. Okay, you have to remember that these techniques are here to clean you out. They are not here to get you a job. Okay? They are not here to transform your life so that it's bringing something in for you that you're not willing to go for. Okay? Everything in regards to what you want to do in life has to be produced through your actions. That's your job, okay? You cannot rely on the trauma transcendence technique, because so many people just think, oh, it's a great technique. It's a technique to make me feel good. No, that's not its purpose, right? When we're working with the trauma transcendence technique, when we're working with the white light breath, you're getting cleaned out, right? It's kind of like how a plumber will come in and they'll clean out your pipes. Okay, so clean out the pipes of your entire house. Now that doesn't mean you never have to worry about plumbing again, but you're getting a cleaning, right? Things are working better. Okay, so things are working better in your life, but you're still the source. You're the one that's moving forward. You're the one that's walking the path. You're the one deciding what you want to do with your life. Do you need to work for a living? No. Okay. Now, again, if you have a bunch of people in your house, for example, maybe you're living with your family in that sense, there's that feeling of dependency, right? Like everybody has to kind of pull their own weight, and so there needs to be a kind of a shared accommodation there, of course. If you're living on your own, well, this is kind of giving you more of an opportunity for you to fasten your life in any way you want. So it's not about working for, like, even with what I do, what Breanne does, I don't consider it working for a living, right? We're basically just being compensated for living a life that we love, okay? So with me doing these sessions, it's great. Love doing them, right? To me, that's not working for a living, right? If I'm slaving for a paycheck, if I feel like I'm being mistreated at the job, if I feel like my boss couldn't care less about me or my welfare, but I'm just coming in and I'm processing data sheets and stuff like that, and I'm trying to make a paycheck and I'm miserable, then I'm working for a living. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is when you're working with TTT, when you're working with white light breath, because they are just very simple. I haven't really invented anything new. This is just modern renditions of ancient practices, right? And we're working to feel harmonized. It's not about trying to avoid the workforce. It's not about trying to avoid work or try to avoid money. It's not about that. What is it that you're doing? The service that you offer, the expression that you have, is it bringing you that joy, right? Do you feel content? Do you feel at peace with what you're doing? Then you're not working for a living. You're simply living. Okay, so that's what TTT and white light breath are trying to teach you. We're just cleaning everything out. We're clearing out traumas so that we're not feeling so horrible within. We're not bringing out those ripples that are coming from all these tragedies and traumas and desires. And then it's coming back and it's ricocheting and it's hitting us again even harder, right? So that's what I mean when we're looking at TTT and WLB, is we're just cleaning the pipes. We're cleaning ourselves out internally so that we have a new, fresh look at the world. We're not following our path traumatized. We're not traumatized and thinking that this is what I need to do to go out and make a living, right? So that's very important to remember. So anyways, to get to your next point here, will that be enough to succeed, or is there something else I should be aware of? So the most important thing is you being your own creator, right? So if I'm looking at you, so yeah, so plot a course, make an action plan, right? Put some intention forward about what is it that you want to do. We could basically go on some yoga retreats. Maybe we could do that for days, weeks, months, or even years if you want to. But there will be a point where you need to come back into the world. I don't think you're going to go and run out in the bush and meditate out there all day and try to feed off of honey and bugs and all the other stuff that you're looking for. I've never done that. I've never needed to do that, right? That's always an option if a person wants to be a recluse, right? But this is not about you trying to be a recluse. What I'm teaching all of you here, especially with the simple exercises that I have, is I'm not teaching you to be a bush person, okay? I'm not teaching you to wear a loincloth. I'm not teaching you to go out into a bush or to go meditate in a cave and have an alms bowl, okay? That's not what I'm teaching you. What I'm teaching you is clear away your traumas because they're illusions. They don't need to be there. And you can do absolutely anything in life. You want to go write that novel, it's a horror novel, go for it. You want to write a comic book series, go for it. You want to be a teacher, go for it. You want to be a dancer, go ahead. You want to join politics, okay, well, go for it. Knock yourself out. It's all these things in life that you enjoy doing. You're doing it because you've cleaned yourself out. Nothing affects you anymore, right? You're living life for the sake of living life. It's like I said, let God work through you rather than thinking that you have to work through God, right? Let God be you because that's the truth. Right. Anything you want to add on that?
I think you said that fantastically here. And when I pulled the cards, and I was seeing this as well, and yes, you know, these techniques are phenomenal. I feel like we can have absolute big breakthroughs, but you have to take inspired action. And here you are with the Two of Wands, is planting those seeds. But look at this, the Knight of Swords smack dab in the middle. Is it does require, you know, sometimes getting out of your comfort zone. It requires you taking action. And I know this is kind of a basic question, but you know, you've heard, if you didn't have to pay for your rent or mortgage or all these utilities and bills, like what would you do with your time? Like look at things you're inspired to do and create a business out of that, because then you're not working for a living. As Brad said, we love what we're doing, and you don't consider it as slaving for a paycheck. So I do see a new start here, but you have to take action on it.
Well, exactly. And like I said, it's success is something that you have to achieve, right? So I could do trauma transcendence technique till the cows come home. I look at myself, I'm clearing out multiple traumas per day. I feel great about myself. Now I'm able to step out through my front door and feel great about everything I'm doing. I'm going into my truck. I'm enjoying driving my truck. It just feels exhilarating driving the truck right now. And now I'm going and I'm talking to people. And it feels exhilarating talking to people. I'm noticing that my subconscious is cleaned up. I don't have bullies in my life anymore. I don't have naysayers in my life anymore. I don't have people who are negatively oriented who's just bashing me into the ground anymore. I'm not playing a blame game anymore. And I can say that just from my own subconscious, guys. I don't really attract jerks anymore. I don't attract a-holes anymore. Not really. Once in a blue moon, maybe, but that's okay. But you'll notice that is you'll want to see how your subconscious health is doing. Brad, how can I check on my subconscious health? Be aware of the type of people that are around you daily. Be aware of the events that are happening to you daily. Are they working together with you? Maybe they're just in a state of subtlety. Maybe they're in a state of calmness. Maybe there's some really great delight that's coming out of your subconscious on a daily level. If you're noticing that, you have a very healthy subconscious. If people are constantly wanting to fight you and bully you and attack you, this is telling me, and that's all I need to do to look at a person. They can tell me exactly what their day's like. And I said, okay, there's some subconscious illness here. And that's what I could refer to it as. It's subconscious illness. This person is constantly fighting. Okay, there's subconscious illness. That's telling me this person is insecure. That's telling me this person is still fighting over abuse. These people won't cut me a break. Okay, that's telling me this person has rejection. This person is trying to prove something. So I can diagnose a person by looking into their subconscious, right? And their subconscious is them just telling me about their usual day, right? So that's the idea, is that we work with TTT and white light breath to clean out your subconscious, to make your subconscious healthy. So consciously and subconsciously, you're health. You're a beacon of health. So that's the most important thing. So I hope that helps you, UN142. You have to be the successor. You need to go out and make success, but we're just prepping you so that you can do that, and it comes easily to you, right? Everything pertaining to your drive and your force of bringing yourself out to where you want to be successfully will always be up to you, okay? Let's go to Gail Deer. Don't think I see a question. Oh, there it is, on top, okay. Hi, Brad and Breanne. There has been some talk online about the big earthquake tsunami hitting the Oregon coast line, affecting the west coast of BC. Do you see this happening? Well, I think you're new, Gail, so welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome. So what I'm telling you, Gail, is that over the years, because I've been doing this for 17 years, I've had a lot of people ask me that question about the West Coast, okay? Now, I'll go first, and then Breanne can follow up. Basically, if I'm looking at the scanning, I'm just going to look at the West Coast. I'm not looking at Oregon or anything of that nature. I'm just looking at the West Coast altogether over the next, maybe, say, 3 to 6 months, okay? There's going to be some little shakeups here and there. There's going to be some little tremors here and there, but it's not going to lead to anything disastrous, okay? And this is what I'm getting at, is that, Gail, welcome to the channel. But for the past several years, I've been telling people, guys, I do not see a massive timeline where there is a disaster hitting the West Coast, where California breaks off the continent, or where we're sinking, where you're getting unspeakable amounts of flooding going on, or tsunamis, or anything of that nature. I don't see that happening. And I know I've had a lot of different psychics that have said that they see, situations happening, unfolding, that are pretty intense. Of course, one of the intense things we had was, the burning down of Hollywood, right, in California, with the directed energy weapons as well, too. Nothing to do with an earthquake, but that still is a very, very eventful situation. But as far as earthquakes go, there's going to be a little bit of tremors here and there. There'll be some little shakeups here and there. And that's all part of kind of like growing pains. That's all part of kind of like moving and stretching in a certain way on the earth level. But as far as a gigantic one that's going to consume the entire West Coast, no. As far as a gigantic one that's going to be a tsunami that's trying to bury everybody, no. Okay? So I've never subscribed to the idea of a big one for the West Coast. I can see ones that are coming in that are kind of small to mediocre or medium-sized, yes, but nothing in that, not like a 9.0 or anything of that nature. Okay, how about you?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've heard a lot of people talk about this too, and I'm actually considering doing more of a deeper dive in a video on this. So if you're not part of my channel, it's definitely on my list. With what I got, I do think, yes, there are some shakeups here. I have the Eight of Wands. It feels like a rapid movement, especially within the waters here. And I do see some flooding coming out here. But again, I do agree with what you say, Brad. Like, I don't see anything catastrophic. I don't have the tower even. And what's really interesting is what I'm seeing is like this is representing flooding as the outcome. So I do think, you know, over the next couple months, we may very much experience some tremors and rising of water here. But I also see we have this Two of Cups and the Two of Swords as well. And as a collective, we can come together and put intentions in also and lighten the intensities of this. And I see that very strongly with these two cards aspecting this flooding energy.
Yep.
So yes, I do see some earthquakes or light small tsunamis, but nothing too catastrophic here.
There's been a lot of cushioning that's happening, right? If we didn't have that cushioning, then we probably would have big ones hitting the California coast or across Oregon or Western Washington and BC. If we didn't have that kind of cushioning I'm talking about really is it's a very powerful energetic. And my feeling is it's based upon the West Coast community being very strong with meditation, being very strong with going within and just blessing the land, right? That does make a difference, my friends. So a lot of that cushioning that's been happening over a very long time is offering a lot of protection, right? It's like I've talked about, because I've done guided meditations when we've had situations over in Florida, right, pertaining to the hurricanes, when we've had tsunami threats, we've had all of that. People were fearing the worst, and I said, let's just get together, right, maybe a couple of hundred of us, and we start leading a guided meditation, and we notice now everything starts to smooth itself out. Okay? And that's documented. That is documented on my YouTube channel here. That's documented with many others who are doing guided meditations, and they keep track of a lot of these people just fearing the worst. They do some guided meditations together, and everything starts to smooth itself out. That's the power we have, because you're doing it en masse, right? So I've done that on many occasions. And like I said, it does not have to be a doom and gloom situation. We have to remember, everybody, you have power, right? You have power. And I know a lot of politicians and a lot of other leaders and all the crap that you see on television, that's why I'm going to be making fun of it very soon, is telling you that you don't have power, right? Because you're basically looking at all these people who are ignorant to what we can do. And that's just run a guided meditation, put your intentions out, put your energies into it, put your feelings into it, and you make things better. And we've done that multiple times here, just on this channel alone. I'm not even talking about the other people who are like getting hundreds of thousands of people. So I've never had that. I've had maybe about 200, 300 people gather together for a guided meditation, and we've done it, and it's great. That's powerful, right? But it's that en masse feeling, and people who are doing 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people. My God, that's going to change everything. That's the power that we have. Tell yourself right now, I have power. I have power, because you do, right? You're not some weakling, person who's like 6 inches tall who can't do anything. You have all of this power, right? You have all this strength. We've proven it on this channel so many times. So work with it.
Yes, and I really want to include, I won't go on too long about this, but when I was doing a UK video, and towards the end I was doing my crystal ball gazing, and I seen, it was so incredible. And I know we have power, but seeing it come out, there's three individuals coming together and creating this like heart coherence, and they were disrupting all this negative inorganic energy within the fields, and it was so powerful, you guys. So you guys are so powerful.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? You got it. All right, so thank you, Gail, and welcome to the channel. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your question. All right, let's go on to Jijo Matthew. Okay, this one is for Adronis. So Adronis, could you please speak about my most previous reincarnation on Earth? Thanks a lot. We could talk about that a little bit, okay? But like I said, we can go on, and that's a very big, deep topic. I normally charge things like that. So Adronis can give you a sneak preview, but Jijo, you're basically asking for a session that I do for a paid amount, okay? There's a lot to it. So I can get Adronis to give you a little sneak peek, but that's it, right? If you want an Akashic reading from me, you got to order it through my website because I do a lot of work on those sessions. Those sessions usually take about an hour because I go very deep into your Akasha. I look into a lot of different things of a previous lifetime, okay? So I'll do it just as a kind of like an elevator trailer version here with Adronis about your previous reincarnation, okay? But please remember, I usually don't do that for people, even if they are personal sessions, personal requests here. Okay, so that's a lot of work. It does take a lot of work. It takes me an hour to get all that stuff out here. Okay, so just letting you guys know that ahead of time. Here we go. One moment. Terra Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to the one known as Jijo Matthew. We thank you for your request about helping us to give you some enlightenment, briefly, about another previous lifetime that you have had. Well, here it is. Syria, young child, starved to death. Syria, young child, starved to death. Not knowing where his parents are, feeling abandoned by the world, feeling again that nobody cared, trying to hold on, died on the street alone. That is, again, one of your most recent incarnations. So it's the idea in that sense that what you're dealing with right here, Jijo, is the feeling of great abandonment. The feeling of trying to be dependent on others. And that is what's causing you to suffer inwardly. The feeling like there are people who may be discarding you, or feeling that sense that you're left alone in the dark, not knowing what to do. And that this plays a part, not only through your childhood, your teenage years, but into your adult years as well too. That feeling of being kicked to the curb, that feeling of being left behind, that feeling of being left behind to starve by the tragedies of the world. And this is exactly what you need to work with a little more to help you understand that your security lies within. It's not to say that that's going to be an experience like what you're having here now, but the emotionality of it, the impact of the trauma of it haunts you. And that's what we need to clear up. So this is where surrender comes in. This is where action comes in. This is where turning over a new leaf comes in, is the reliance and the harmony of you being secure within yourself. All right? We thank you for your question. Okay. So Jijo, that is an intense lifetime, but those are just some examples of some lifetimes I've seen with people, right? Where they're little kids and they're starving to death in that sense, and now here they are full-blown adults, but they still feel like that little child who's been left out in the dark, right? Not having any particular type of support whatsoever. So take that for what is given to you, okay? And if you want more of a deeper reading with the Akasha, that's why I have the Akashic readings on wisdomtransmissions.com, okay? All right, let's go ahead and move on. So we have another one here from Am I Dreaming? So Am I Dreaming, welcome. Am I Dreaming says, hi Brad and Breanne, are you able to tap into my hair loss situation? What is it related to most? Also, mom and grandma seem to be the end of life during the same time as this karmic. So trying to get just one question at a time, my friends, okay? Hair loss. What do you think I got? Okay. So, Breanne, you can go ahead and go first, and I'll follow up with that. But I feel you with that. Okay. I kind of miss my old hairdos, but can't do it anymore. So it's just all started. It all comes through certain patterns with all of us. But like I said, I'll let Breanne cover it first.
Well, one way I look at like hair too, I feel like it's, you know, it's an antenna to our spiritual essence as well. But it feels like this could be, when we're looking at it, I mean, we have a victory, and then we have this Page of Swords energy, which is kind of like cutting things off. I don't know why, but some of it I feel like is potential. I mean, this is not at all any medical advice, but there could also be some, I feel like, deficiency in nutrients as well here, with some of this energy, but I'm getting like a big spiritual side to this one with the Death card. There's like a big transition going on beneath the scenes. So I mean, when you tap into the energy of the hair loss for I am dreaming, is that, do you get more of a spiritual like underlining essence, or for yourself?
Oh, yeah, so you mean? Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, let's take a look here for Am I Dreaming? Well, basically, it has to do with your own karma, yes, okay, and it's something like with me. There's those of us on the planet who we are very action oriented, and it really does have to do with how we think, right? How you think and how you behave and how you present yourself determines the alignment of your hair. Okay, as Breanne said, hair. You know, scientists will say it's a dead thing, but it actually contains the most life force out of anywhere else, right? Hair on your body is an antenna for life force energy, okay? When you are overthinking, when you're overdoing things, when you're oversensitive, when you're over emotional, this can actually lead to the thinning of the hair, men and women included, okay? Women can go bald, okay? Women can have thinning hair. We've seen it, right? We see it with people as well, with women who also have thinning hair or basically bald spots on their head as well too. They get a little bit differently than men do, but with men, like I said, there's some of us who basically just overthink things to death. We're constantly in the inner monologue, right? We're inner narrating with this, and this happens to me, and I'm guilty of it, right? So what happens is that burns out kind of like the friction of your hair, right? Your follicles basically start to die out because of how you conduct yourself, because of how you use the head. You have to remember that this brain is a transformer, okay? And if you are constantly barraging yourself with continuous thought energy, that's a heat. That heat now starts to intensify, and there's patterns within areas of the brain that are actually overheating because you have too much heat in the body. And Ayurveda will tell you this, and traditional Chinese medicine will tell you this. This is why we have pattern baldness, okay? Pattern baldness comes together based on certain orientation connections of the brain based on overheat, right? So for me, for example, I have a lot of heat in the body, right? And I always work to try and keep it cooled down, but that's just how I'm wired. That's how I'm built. If we don't try to keep that heat under control, especially around areas of the brain, then what happens is you get so much pressured heat, and that pressurized heat actually starts to thin out the hair, and it thins out more and more until it goes bald. Women can be susceptible to this as well too. There's areas in the brain that gather too much pranic heat because of certain levels of higher degrees of thinking. The thinking becomes too much. It's like looking at a computer that you just keep running it, and it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, right? And then it starts to get sluggish, and it starts to have processing issues. The same thing goes with us, the type of people. Not everybody, of course, but there's some of us, again, that have the pattern baldness. Like, right, me up here, I have it around here, I have it back here as well too. That's basically where the heat is generating the most. And it thins out the hair, and the follicles therefore start to fall out, or close up, you could say, or seal, and then you have pattern baldness. So it all has to do with brain heat, right? And I'm talking about brain heat pertaining to a pranic level. That's how it's done. So are we able to reverse that? I don't know. I really don't know. Unless you go and get like hair transplant surgery or anything of that nature. Once those follicles are sealed up, they're sealed up in that sense to try and keep in the heat, right? That heat is there. So basically, how you are as your personality, your chart, your natal chart. This is why I suggest you guys go look at predictmyastrology.com. right? Find out about your chart. Find out about yourselves. There's things that you can find out in your astrology that I could not tell you, because that's how deep astrology is, right? But you want to find out exactly these patterns. And the type of heat that comes around the brain is heat that relates to the organs, relates to the cells, relates to the bodily systems. So if something's heating up over here in the liver, there's a component here in the brain that is also getting heat up in regards to that, right? So it all interconnects to it. We don't even have an accurate science relating to why pattern baldness happens. All they do is they just look at the thing and say, oh, this is what takes place, this is how it's done. Well, you're describing the situation, but you're not telling people what it is. I didn't ask you what it was, I don't ask you what it does, I ask you what it was, right? So there's people that are just giving a play-by-play about what's happening with pattern baldness, but they don't tell you what it actually is, right? So that's kind of what you need to ask the scientists and say, well, I'm not telling you what this does, I'm asking you what it was. And you know what they'll say? We don't know. Okay? But you go to an Ayurvedic practitioner, they can tell you. You go to a traditional Chinese practitioner who's been doing it for many years, they can tell you. These pattern baldness all has to do with heat. It is heat in the brain. It's heat in the brain, and it causes that pranic overheat. And over time, as this continues, your hair thins and falls out, just like mine has. Okay? So that's how you do it. That's how it's understood. Nutrients can help, but no, not really. I mean, it's good to keep healthy with the nutrients, but that's not going to grow your hair back. Okay. Once your hair's done, it's pretty much done. Okay. So like I said, other than maybe hair transplant surgery or certain things like that, or donor hair or whatever you want to call it, that's fine. To grow hair back in that sense is extremely rare, right? You would basically have to completely transform yourself, and you need to start bringing a lot more yin energy into areas of the brain that have been higher yang. Okay? That's extremely difficult to do. Right? So like I said, you're wired to these things, right? Guys, how did Brad get this information? Oh, well, there's a book over here. No, there's no book over here. Guys, where does my information come from? In here, right? This is what I'm talking about. You become a living library. You just know these things. None of those books back there tell you anything about what I'm telling you right now. Okay? I got quite a few books back there. So this is how it works, is that you're going through the realization of these heat spots, these hot spots. But you'd have to bring more yin energy into areas of the brain, but that would involve completely rewiring yourself, and that is extremely difficult to do. So if you're basically bald, my friend, deal with it. Okay? I'm going bald. I'm dealing with it. Unless you want to do hair transplant surgery or other things, other means, that's up to you. But no, it's not really possible to grow this back unless you're rewiring yourself in certain ways. You need more yin energy to bring back a lot more of the follicles that have basically collapsed, sealed themselves up. Okay, and so many people have tried so hard to try. Do you notice that there's billionaires who are bald? Jeff Bezos, okay, he's bald. He's a billionaire. Do you think he could just restore his hair with all his money? You think he could, but he can't. That's what I'm talking about. To naturally do it is almost, and I mean almost next to impossible. Okay? Because you have to bring yin energy in there. Yin energy is what restores hair. But again, if your body is working in the way that it's wired, that yang energy is just going to cause hair to fall out. It's like I said, it's like a overheating computer over time, not all at once, but over time. And some people can have it quick. Some people can lose their hair in their mid-20s or early 20s, right? Some people can lose in their 30s. I'm starting to lose it in my early 40s, right? So it happens to us all. It just depends on how we're wired and the alignment of the yang energy that's causing all of that burnout that's happening. Because it is true, hair is antenna, but it can be burnt out. The antenna can be burnt out because of pranic overheat, too much yang energy in certain patterns of the brain.
Yeah, and look at that King of Wands. There's lots of fiery energy coming out as well. So,
yes, so
I love how you said that, because I was having trouble piecing that one together. But yes, that's exactly. And then we have that death energy, so it shows it kind of done, right? Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
That shows to show you guys, you can't get this from books. You get that from the heart. You get that from spirit. You get that from source, right? That's why I'm able to do what I do. Okay. All right, so Samar has a question here. Samar, we really cannot tackle this kind of question, okay? No offense, Samar, but your question is extremely vague and broad and would take a very, very long time to get through. And it's not the kind of questions that I answer, okay? Whenever a person comes to me, and guys, I've been doing this 17 years. I've had hundreds of people come to me. Brad, what's my purpose? Adronis, what's my purpose? Right? We can kind of tease you a little bit and saying, taking the curriculum of life, right? Finding out who you are. But for you to go into the nature of purpose and to try and understand that, nobody can tell you that, my friends. Okay? Nobody can tell you that. I don't care if you go to the most gifted psychic on the planet. Nobody can tell you what your purpose is. It's not possible, right? Please take that with you. So when you're looking at purpose, what I would tell a client is I would say we need to break this down a little bit more, Samar. What exactly is it that you're trying to work with? What is it exactly that you're trying to strive towards? What is it exactly that you're trying to build yourself towards? Well, here's the struggles that I'm having. Here's the challenges I'm going through. Here's the solution I want to bring myself out. Perfect. Now we can work with that. But basically having a broad question like that about what's my purpose can't be answered. Okay? I don't care who you go to. Nobody can answer that question. It's not possible. Okay? And I've told people this for years, and they get pissed off at me sometimes. Oh, but I just want to know what my purpose is. Well, we have to dissect it. I want to know what your struggles are right now. What do you want to work with? What's your situation right now? What is causing you to ask that question? What is preventing you from getting to know yourself? Right? And that's where we start. Samar, that's where I have to start with you. Who are you? And what do you want? Right? What struggles are you going through? What challenges are you going through? Where do you want to see yourself going? What do you want to see yourself do? We've had many conversations with you and me over chat over here as well too. And like I said, it just feels like you keep getting stuck in the mud again and again and again because you're not trusting yourself. You need to heal your wounds. You need to look at these lacerations that are all over yourself and you need to start healing them. And we do that with white light breath, and we do that with trauma transcendence technique. But to know one's purpose, purpose is a heart path, okay? It's heart-centered. Spirit doesn't have a purpose for you, okay? And that's something that you have to just completely face off with first and foremost. Because when I was starting this, I was asking myself the same questions. What is purpose? What is purpose? And Adronis threw curveballs at me. He said, Brad, there is no purpose. Your purpose is self-implied. You have a self-implied purpose. Your heart has a purpose in the idea of how it wants to grow, of how it wants to expand. Your being, of who you feel you are as a personality, wants to have a purpose because it wants to have a drive. It wants to follow one dot over to another dot. But guys, do you want me to show you what the infinite is? Here we go. First time ever. There's the infinite. Do you see any purpose on this piece of paper? Is there anything on this piece of paper that says, my purpose, here it is? No, because that's how Spirit sees you. You're a blank canvas. And the only time you're actually putting a purpose on something is when you draw it there. There's your purpose. There's your bullseye. That's what I want to strive towards. That's what I want to go for. Okay? That is self-implied. Purpose is self-implied through personality. It is nothing to do with spirit at all. Spirit has no purpose for you. Your purpose, your nature, is to simply be the blank canvas. And on that canvas can be anything. My heart wants me to do this. My heart wants me to do that. My heart wants me to go this way. My heart wants me to go that way. Blah, 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 blah. And now you got several points on here. So how about, rather than wondering what your purpose is, how about, how do I want to create a purpose that serves me well? How about you create your purpose rather than thinking that your purpose is creating you? Catch 22? Okay. So please look into that. That's what I would suggest. I say this, guys, because I'm a veteran of the game, right? Talking to people for so many years about that question. I try to give new answers every time, so that's one of the new answers. How about you define your purpose rather than thinking that purpose is defining you? Because if you think that purpose is defining you, you're basically going into a very weak mind, right? You need to start telling purpose, this is what I want out of you. This is what I want to do, right? If I feel like everything needs to come to me and control me, well, then I'm nothing more than a slave puppet, right? Because purpose has to control me. Purpose has to do this. Destiny has to do this. No. Outline your purpose yourself. You are sovereign, and let everything with purpose grow down here, right? That's the key. That's the power of being a sovereign being, right? And I'm teaching you guys how to be a sovereign being. That's the key.
I love that. I
Right.
was just so, intrigued by your...
See, some people get, it's funny too, because I was doing a session the other day as well too, because Adronis was coming through for this one client. This guy said, oh, can't Adronis just sugarcoat stuff like that? He always has to be so blunt. I said, this is how Adronis is. This is how I am, guys. I am a tough love guy. I am not here to sprinkle sugar on these things. Oh, you poor baby, you poor you, and blah, blah, blah. If you want to get that out of me, you're not going to, right? Go find Captain Fluffle, right? And maybe get some sugar-coated crap off him or something like that. No, I'm going to tell you how it is. Now, I say that, of course, with love and compassion, but it's tough love, right? And I get that criticism every now and then from people like, Brian, you can just be like a hard ass at times. And, you can just be so, but there's people that love it, and I love it, right? I would expect a person like that. If I wanted to know more about myself, I want a person like that to say that to me. I want a person who's getting out of their fluff, getting out of their metaphysical bullshit, getting out of that new age crap, that garbage that's online, that's 95% of the internet, and just tell me like it is. That is the greatest reward, because I've had people like that in my life, and it's rewarded me. Adronis being one of them, right? And it's so rewarding to get that kind of just pure facts, pure straight talk, right? Pure truth, pure tough love. I love it. And that's how I am, right? And that's why some people may get nervous coming to me and say, Brad's a straight talker. He doesn't beat around the bush, right? And I said, that's it. That's how I am. If you want to have a session with me, expect that. I'm not going to change, because I don't care if you're offended by it or not. No offense. Okay. No offense, but I'm not offended by what you think about that. And I've had people just yelling at me in sessions as well too, and say, "Oh, Brad, you're such a hard ass," and even some of my students have said that about me as well too. But I've cut through the bullshit, and then I get them to look at the stuff, and then they start doing it, and they get results. They get results. They get results. Whereas I look at these people who are just, that people are who they are, but they just fill you with so much of this fluff that's not even true. And that's the problem. That's why we get segregated. That's why we get stuck in the mud, right? I'm not going to apologize for the type of person I am. That's who I am. I'm a tough love guy. I'm a straight shooter. I do that, and I'll tell it like it is, right? And like I said, love and compassion to you, but tough love, all right? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We got another donation-based question here from Lyra Love. Lyra Love says, there was an earthquake in Istanbul today at 6.2. Is there going to be more expected? Okay, I'm going to let Breanne take this one. Okay, so I've been talking quite a bit. I'm just going to get a refill of water, so I'll be right back.
Alright, what do we have for Istanbul? Spirit? I have seen for 2025, when I've been doing some dives on the Earth, Mother Gaia here, and the intense energies, I've seen a lot of shakeups, you guys. Lots and lots, like reoccurring ones. Some are going to be much smaller, some may be a bit larger. But that being said, again, I have my Six of Swords as the outcome, which is showing, for me, this is a flooding energy as well. So there can be some intensities happening here, okay? But again, I don't see this as being anything catastrophic. So I would say, based off of this energy, there may be absolutely some more small shakeups. In terms of like a 6.2 or larger, like another one of those, I'm not sure I'm seeing that. So it feels like they may be some small, more intense ones over the next couple months. Yeah. One more here. Yeah, so for the most part, I'm going to say yes, I do see some more smaller earthquakes and potentially little tremors that can result in a bit of, disruption here. But again, nothing too catastrophic. I don't have my big tower moment or anything of that matter. But we can expect to see this all over the world moving forward, especially in 2025. I've seen that happening time and time again.
Okay, so earthquakes in Istanbul. So that's what. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be more, of course. There's going to be more of them. Right now, we're in a point on the planet. And like I said, guys, to help buffer this, you come together, right? We do guided meditations. We clear it out, right? And like I said, you'll find a lot of people in there. Like I do it at times, and you'll see other people on YouTube that may lead guided meditations for certain countries. You can find it on websites as well, too. And just look at that, guided meditations for Istanbul. Find it, and you'll find something there as well, too. So get behind that. Work together en masse with that. But from what I'm getting, there's going to be a lot of shakeups, specifically around areas like around Europe and Asia, different areas, different points. It's almost like an acupuncture situation that's going on, right? We got to stick the needles in certain areas. Now, a lot of these particular quakes that are happening are actually, in many ways, destruction of underground installations. Okay, so basically, dams are getting destroyed quite commonly. And you'll notice that because dams are just all over the world, they're everywhere, right? So you have these deep underground military bases that are basically being destroyed, and a lot of these earthquakes are artificial. Okay, very rarely are actually, oh, there you go.
Yes, that one flew out
So
earlier.
very rarely are you actually seeing an earthquake that's natural. Okay, there's odd ones that happen, and when the ones that are unnatural, they're actually very small. They're like 4 or 5, something like that. But they're very, very rare, and when they do happen, they're not very impacting. But these ones are targeted. These are targeted harp quakes. These are targeted quakes that basically work with that scalar energy, and they create that pressure under the tectonics, and they create earthquakes, right? But basically what they're doing is they're being used in that way as like type of bombs, and they're basically breaking apart a deep underground military base so that there's a rupture and that they can actually go inside the base and clean it out, right? And I've talked about this many times as well too. I think even Janine has talked about this as well too. Maybe even Tarot by Isabella may have talked about this as well too. They were doing some really gross experiments, my friends. If you actually go inside those bases and see what they're doing, it's inhuman, right? They're basically making chimeras. You guys know what chimeras are? Those are hybrid creatures, okay? Just like we look back in ancient legend where we see like a griffin or a minotaur or anything of that nature, half human, half animal. It's exactly what they were trying to create. And so there's still some bases on the planet that are trying to create chimeras, right? And basically trying to make these horrors, because they were basically trying to create all kinds of catastrophe where it almost looks like hell on earth. I mean, literally look like hell on earth. Not only would there be earthquakes and weapons, biological weapons pertaining to chimeras, humans in that sense that are being implanted with chips and trying to zombify them, and all that stuff like that. Like, these were actual agendas. They will not see the light of day. That's the good news, okay? But these were their plans. They were basically, literally, trying to create hell on earth. Like where you just step outside and you're seeing these demonic creatures that are basically in chimera suits or chimera bodies, and they're terrorizing people and they're eating people and all that stuff like that. This is exactly what they were trying to do, right? They were trying to bring Jesus back. They were basically trying to clone a Jesus under the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Okay, there was a laboratory under there, and that was destroyed as well too. Quite a few years back, they were trying to create some type of clone of Jesus to basically have their order. There is nothing that these psychopaths weren't trying to do. So a lot of these deep underground military bases have laboratories. These laboratories have abominations of creatures that are within them. And so they will often have joint task forces. They'll have on-Earth task forces, and they'll have off-world task forces. And they will come together, and they will go into these particular deep underground military bases, and they will exterminate the chimeras. Okay? You basically have creatures that kind of look like the Draco. You have creatures that kind of look like the Greys. And you have these kind of mythical creatures as well, too. Minotaurs, and so forth. They're very real. They're very frightening as well too. So that's what they're doing. They're completely cleaning out a lot of these dumbs, and that's why these earthquakes happen. They're not trying to take out people in that way, but they have to have the earthquake strong enough where it actually cracks open the kind of like the opening, the entrances to a lot of these bases, and basically cripple them so that they can go in with task forces and basically exterminate pretty much everything that's in the base. Because what is in those things, my friends, is basically hell on earth. It's horrible. It's like looking at the video game Doom, right? Where you're on Mars and you got a bunch of these demonic creatures coming out and all that. Not sure if any of you played Doom back in the day, but it was very much like that. Okay, so that's exactly what they tried to do, and I'm not saying that that's what's happening in Istanbul, but from what I can tell, that's exactly what does happen in many different parts of the planet. Right? There's so many deep underground militaries, hundreds of them. Right?
And also, yeah, when we look at that aspecting, the Hierophant for me is usually that dark elite and the cabal energy, and they're working hard under, beneath the surface with that Ten of Swords. So that really lines
they're
up
basically
with
trying to unleash an apocalypse. It won't happen. That's the good news. It won't happen. But they've been trying to create these chimera beings and these chimera creatures, and they're basically weaponized. They've even had robots as well too. They have like robot dinosaurs that could actually go out and start chomping on people as well too. So you have basically dinosaur T-Rexes, you have dinosaur velociraptors, and they're terrifying, right? So they have these on standby as well too. So there's a lot of things, but the whole idea is that they're really just locked away in vaults. That's exactly why these task forces have come together for so long, for such a long time, and have basically gone into these bases and taken out a lot of these abominable creations, these AIs as well too, trying to again create like these robotic cybernetic dinosaurs and let them loose and all that stuff. They were basically trying to kill off literally 90% of the planet with all of these things, not just one thing, multiple things, right? And that's why they have all these underground cities that they could basically go in while they just run amok on the surface, kill everybody on the surface, and then at a certain point they can come back up, and then the Earth is theirs. That was their grand plan, my friends. The good news is all of that's being taken out now. All of that's being, thrown away and cast out because you have task forces that are coming in to evert these particular types of timelines. But these original timelines, my friends, if they happened, right now, compared to where we are, this is bliss compared to where we are right now. If COVID was able to move in the way that it wanted to, you'd be looking at so much fighting, you'd be looking at people just wanting to rip each other apart and all that. It would be terrifying, right? It would be like being inside a Night of the Living Dead movie. It's really, really terrifying. That's what they were trying to do, and you basically would see mass extinction of life through all these people taking toxic inoculations and so forth. It would have been horrifying. Guys, we have averted that. Be very thankful of actually where you are right now, because what you're seeing is the globalists, the old guard, being taken down completely. They're being completely washed away. They're being completely wiped out. And we're just seeing the transitional time of that happening. We are in a very good timeline right now. So many people don't think so. I said, why do you think chaos is happening on the planet? Because those particular elitists are losing control and they're losing their mind and they're spazzing out. And this is exactly why they're doing it. Because they're losing. They have lost pretty much already. They're done for. They are gone. They are toast. They are dying. That's what's happening. So rather than complaining so much about the horrible stuff that's happening in the world, you're right, there's a lot of horrible stuff that has happened, but it's all being taken out. It's because we have woken up. The grand awakening. You're looking at it right now. The critical mass that we have talked about for decades, you're looking at it right now, right? It's all happening. So with earthquakes that are happening, yes, that's all part of the effects that need to happen. Like I said, Earth is about to give birth to a new consciousness. Right?
Yeah, and when you said they're being washed out, it was just like ding ding ding, because I like looked down and look at this card, you guys.
They're being
we
flushed
have
away.
the Six of Swords, and they're being washed away, flushed out. Wow.
Yeah. Say goodbye to the old guard. There's a new guard that's going to come in. They still work together with oligarchs and so forth, but it's going to be much more in the favor of humanity to encourage growth. Right? It's going to be a very different guard, and then at some particular point, that old guard will be washed away. And it's going to just continue to evolve. Everything just evolves generation after generation. Right? Okay, let's go to Karate. I think Karate was next. Let me see. Okay, there's Karate. Yeah. Dear Adronis, do listening to binaural beats and solfeggios work to make physical changes in the body? Will it work if the music comes from the internet? Now, I really don't need to bring Adronis into this because he's talked about this many times. It certainly does, okay? But it depends on the type of binaural beats that you're listening to, okay? You want to make sure that those binaural beats are genuine, that they're basically working together to properly bring yourself into appropriate brainwave states. really what I would suggest is not just jumping from a beta into a delta or a beta into a theta. Start with the scale, right? From the beta state to the alpha to the theta to the delta, right? That's something that can be very beneficial. And again, working with binaural beats that complement that. Because some binaural beats are just crappily made. They're not appropriated properly. So ones that, again, maybe have a lot of followings could be quite good.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I personally love listening to the solfeggio frequencies and binaural beats, and I'm not sure if you agree or you've seen it, but I listen a lot to a channel called The Power of You, and I feel like they have done a phenomenal job at putting together some really high quality, you know, some high quality videos. So I have had a lot of personal
they're
success.
appropriate. Yeah, The Power of You is fine.
Power
So
of
that's
You.
a good one as well too. Hemisync.
Yeah.
Okay, working with Hemisync is really, really good. So those are excellent. So Power of You and Hemisync would be my two suggestions. Working to that. Now solfeggios, I worked with that, and that really helped with my awakening. Okay, so I basically have solfeggiotones.com. That website of mine is old. That's like been around since 2009, and it's still here, right? You can actually download solfeggio frequencies from that website, but I've had it for a very long time.
I didn't know.
But there you go. Now you know. But there's other solfeggio frequencies that are good as well too. Again, as long as it complements the scale, right? So just making sure that maybe if you have like a pitch detector on your phone, right, and you're playing a solfeggio frequency, and make sure that pitch detector is good as well too, right? You may want to test it, make sure it's accurate. But if you have even like an old-fashioned device that has that accurate pitch detection, utilize that when you're playing a solfeggio frequency. Make sure it's the exact scale. Okay, so that's very important as well too. When I've made solfeggios, I've always made sure it's through the proper scale. I just made them through Audacity, right? And then I test it. So yep, this is bang on. This is right on the scale. Perfect. So I can say that my solfeggio frequencies that I have are bang on the scale. Solfeggiotones.com. Okay. And other ones, okay, that's good. Just make sure that they're on the scale. But yes, they really, really help. Even with Radiate, right? I've put the frequencies of the solfeggios in Radiate. Okay, so if you have the Radiate app, okay, there's already the frequencies. It's not audible, but it's the frequencies that are actually coming through the light of the phone, okay, or the light of your tablet and so forth. So that's there as well at the same time. So are they beneficial? Yes, they do change DNA. Not really to the idea that you're being, transformed into a new being, but what they're doing is they're helping to crystallize. It's like crystallizing DNA in that way. Okay. Yeah. So yes, solfeggios will help you that. Binaural beats, just depending in regards to how they're configured, they can. But sound, the power of sound is all about crystallization. It's crystallizing your being. It's helping to purge toxins out of the body. Even Buddhist monks, Tibetan monks have known about this. This is why they have big gongs. Even the Tartarians knew about this. This is why they had gigantic Liberty bells that are sounding, because those frequencies can basically harmonize an entire city, right? You have those big old-fashioned Liberty bells. Those were harmonizers, right? And Tartaria was very well known for its powerful Liberty bells and its powerful structures that are still around today, by the way, right? The Tartarian civilization is well over 75,000 years old, and that there's actually people from the Tartarian civilization that have come back today. And they're going to be new inventors, and they're going to maybe become new architects and try to get people to start building structures like it was in Tartaria. Okay, what are the strongholds of Tartaria? Russia, India, China. Those were the central strongholds of Tartaria. Okay, so you look at a lot of these old buildings that are still around that again just have this beautiful architecture and they're harmonized. They've tried to do so much just to try and tear these buildings down, these structures down, but they have so much harmonics to them, right? It's like looking at pyramids. That's how beautiful it is. Okay, so look into it. Look into sacred sound frequency. Yes, it crystallizes DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just pulled a few cards for that, and there's the big yes. And I've had a lot of personal success. So I do think, I love how you said it can absolutely purge in us the whole crystalline energy with that Ace of Wands there. So I love it.
Great.
So
excellent. Okay, so this one here is from Open Contact, and they ask, hi guys, can Adronis let us know the best way to combat the intense fatigue that many are going through with these current energies here on Earth? One moment. We are here and we thank you very much for your question. Now, we are aware of what you refer to as a particular type of extreme fatigue that is happening upon the planet. Well, that's simply because not only is there transformational energies taking place upon the entire world, but again, it's you trying to detoxify yourself. Really, the reason why many of you are fatigued is because you're toxic. That's the reason. You have food, undigested food in your body that is causing a great deal of fatigue within your gut, within your microbiome, within your stomach, within your heart, within your liver, within your lungs, within your cells. So this is where it is very important that you're cleansing yourself out. You're detoxifying yourself. Not only that, but you're also detoxifying the mind. You're getting the clutter out. If you are constantly in a state of excessive worry, that is what's going to make you fatigued. So yes, there is environmental energy that is taking place. You're getting a great deal of planetary alignments that are again bombarding the earth with new transformations. You're seeing, as you would say, your Schumann resonance bouncing up and down, and that too plays a part. But again, to a healthy person, they actually will not be affected by it that much. A healthy person really is not going to get fatigued by this. Many people are fatigued because you are toxic, because you basically have a great deal of toxicity within your body, within your bloodstream, within your organs, and you need to clean it out. So being able to clean it out, one most important thing is being aware of what you're eating. Be aware of what you're eating and be aware of what you're putting your mind towards on a daily basis. Are you subconsciously clean? Are you cleaning out those toxicities? Are you cleaning out those traumas? So that is something very, very important. And the more that you're able to go back into ancient herbalism, the more you're able to clear all this out. You should be looking at ancient herbal practices, ancient herbal tonics, ancient herbal tinctures for everything, for your brain, for your heart, for your endocrine system, for your liver, for your blood, for everything, for your immune system. Clean yourself out. The more that you can go back into the ancient herbal treatments, that would be highest on the list of anything else. Ancient herbal treatments. It's good to take your minerals, yes. It's good to have your nutrition, yes. But the herbal treatments we're talking about stand the test of time because they've been around for centuries. We would suggest that you look on the internet and discover these ancient texts on herbal treatments as remedies. That is what's going to clean you out within a matter of months. Ancient herbal remedies. Look into that. That will help you significantly on the physical side of things. And of course, work with your mind, clean yourself out, trauma transcendence technique, white light breath, clear out the traumas, clear out the debris. Someone who is completely healthy is not affected by the changes of the earth. One who is toxic is greatly affected. All right? We thank you very much. Okay. What he says is absolutely true. I think I have a book that is around here about ancient herbalism. Okay. And the more you're taking that, that's like golden elixir in a bottle. Okay. So look into ancient herbalism. I'm not trying to be a herbalist because I'm not a herbalist, but this is what Adronis is simply suggesting, right? Is looking into ancient herbalism. That's what's going to clean you out big time. Okay. All right. So let's go on here. Okay. So we got one here from Solstice. We're almost out of time here, guys, so we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. Hi, Brad and Breanne. Can you look into any changes or highlights that are likely to occur in my life over the next couple of months? Huh? Did you want to take a look at that? So again, guys, please be specific. Okay. I know that there's a lot of things, like when you ask a question like that, there's 1,000 answers to it, right? So maybe what I would suggest is I want to work towards a new career. I want to improve my relationship with my family. I want to take a trip. Okay? These are great questions. But by having these kind of questions, it's no offense to you guys, that takes forever. Okay? So we want to make sure, try to be a little more specific with the questions you're asking. Okay? But we'll see if we can do a quick reading here for that. And I'll follow up as well too.
Yeah, I do feel like you have this, the Ten of Swords over my situation energy is showing you ending a period. So you are entering into a whole new energy of a new cycle here. And I have my Two of Wands, which is kind of my portal energy as well. But it is a sense of, again, the Six of Cups is that childlike energy, and a lot of these times we're looking at certain triggers and traumas, it's going back into our past and healing those with, again, techniques such as, you know, the TTT. So you're going through quite a big transition over the next couple of months, and I feel like you're in this, you're going to be entering into this inspirational period with this Page of Wands with the outcome. So it looks like you're ending a period and moving into a new period where you're like co-creating with the universe on some important projects. Again, it was a little bit of vague, so I'm not sure if you're curious about your work or maybe relationships, but this could also indicate children with that Six of Cups. So overall, the general energy over the next little while is you completing a cycle and letting go and releasing and surrendering some of these past things that have been holding you up for a while.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a time to rekindle connection to family. Okay, so it's a family connection time for you, and I think it's about maybe seeing. I'm not too sure if there's going to be someone very close to you who's about to have a baby, or someone very close to you who maybe is bringing a new life in there. But I think it's also kind of the idea of it's kind of like you're bringing your motherly presence into certain situations as well too. So I think it might have something to do with family. But I feel like there may be someone close to you, either someone who's about to have a baby or someone who's already had a baby, and you want to kind of get closer to that. Okay, so it feels like family time. It feels like children are very much a big yes, right? It's children time. Okay, so like I said, it helps us when you want to look into these specifics, because when you can look into areas that you actually want to talk about. And I understand some people just want to throw a general thing. Oh, well, I don't care, just anything that's happening for me. I get that kind of question. That's just not how we work, right? We want to look. So, okay, how about career? Sure. Okay, look into career. Okay, how about family? Sure, look into family. Okay, great. Then we can look into these things, right? I like to have a game plan with a person, right? It's not just I'll sit at a psychic table, look into your crystal ball, whatever comes up, that's fine. It's just not how we work, right? And that's fine if people do that. It's just that's not our cup of tea. But what I'm getting here is the feeling of children, the feeling of family, the feeling of family growth, the feeling of expansion. I think maybe taking on much more of a deeper family role is coming ahead for you. Okay?
Yeah, and when I was confirming, pulling a clarifier, I had the Page of Swords, so I have a lot of page energy here for you, which can indicate a young child or working together with family as well. So that is another indicator with all that page energy.
Great. Okay, so we have two more questions, everybody, and then we're going to wrap it up because we're getting close, short to the time to wrap up. This one here is from Bogdan Andri. Hi, Adrona. Since November 28th, 2024, I'm like in a mental breakdown. I feel like a dark tunnel, a loss of purpose, passion, and emptiness. What's going on? Okay, you've faced a lot of loss. You have suffered a lot of loss. You're feeling in that sense that people are not cooperating with you. It's going down into deeper states of despair, and it comes down into the state of rejection. Okay, so here's what you need to do. You need to take the Trauma Transcendence Technique free e-course. Okay, that is on my website, wisdomtransmissions.com. It tells you everything about what to do from step number 1 to up into multiple steps into day number 10. Okay, and it's for everybody. Okay, if you have absolutely no background relating to this particular type of work, you don't need it. It's all very simple. It all works with breath work. It all works together with stances. It all works together with documenting, right? Working out, the challenges that you've been having. I have a book that's coming out as well too for the Trauma Transcendence Technique. It should be out here very soon. Once it's ready, I'll let everybody know. I'm just waiting for my copies to show up. It's going to be sluggish with the mail right now, I know. But there's a book for Trauma Transcendence Technique as well too. That's on the way. So that is something that I'd recommend. Okay, so what is happening in that sense is that you've been letting these things stew for too long. And now you're seeing it go lower and lower and lower. You've basically put off certain forms of responsibilities. You've put off certain things that need to be looked at on a much more deeper level because you've been distracted by other things. You've had more of life throwing you these surface-based things that you've been looking at while you're looking at relationships deteriorate, and you've put it off for too long, and now it leads to this type of despair. It leads to rejection. It leads to abuse. It leads to abandonment. It leads to wanting to run away from everything. Okay, and that is what we would call a full trauma hit. So all of these things have been brewing for years. You've been doing everything you can to try and just survive, right? Go day by day, trying to take care of things, but in the background, a lot of these things are brewing and they get louder and louder and louder, and everything starts to fall apart. You feel like you're in a state of mental breakdown because these things have been brewing for a long time and you have not known what to do. So this is where I suggest you go to wisdomtransmissions.com. On the page, you will see free e-course. You click on the free e-course, you sign up your name and your email, you check your email, you'll get the Trauma Transcendence Technique Day 1 course, okay, or 10-day course, but it starts off with day number 1. If you don't see it, you contact me, you let me know, and I can send it to you manually, okay? I just want you to work with Trauma Transcendence Technique Day number 1 up to day number 10. That will help you to move forward, okay? It works for everybody. I've designed it to make it bare bones simple. Okay, so that's what I would suggest you do. Thank you. Okay, we're going to end with Ian Spinks here. Ian says, "Hi Brad, can you ask Adronis, is the Babylon being known as Marduk, or was a positive being working for humanity?" Okay, Adronis has talked about this already. The biblical characters that you understand are fictional. Okay, there is really no such being as a Marduk. Okay, it's kind of like looking at the energy of compassion. It's not a being, but it's an energetic. The nature of Marduk is not an actual being, but it's an energetic. It does point to Mars. It actually does point to Saturn. I would say more so. Okay, so Saturn is not some horrible energy in that way, but it's about the reflection of what it represents. The Babylon represents illusion, and that illusion is much more intertwined together with the planet Saturn. Okay, so looking in the nature of Marduk, of being a positive being, it's not a being, right? It's more about the consciousness of it, right? So looking in the nature of Babylon, right, about trying to make these Babylonian magic money systems and so forth, Babylon itself just represented a veil of illusion. And like I said, Babylon, like I said in the Bible, represents the ego side of illusion. Like I said, the Bible is not to be taken literally. Okay, the Bible is meant to be an occult book. It is telling you about allegories. It is telling you about, yes, these places, but these places in regards to what they represent in the mind of man, right? So when we look at Israel, right, when we look at Israel, you have Isis, you have Ra, you have El, okay? When you're looking at Babylon, Babylon would represent the lower mind. Okay, it's the lower mind that represents illusions, the destruction of Babylon, the falling of Babylon, all of that represents like an ego nest, and it's being dismantled. When you're looking at Marduk, that would represent a symbol of that illusion. Okay, so it's not about it being a positive being or a negative being. It simply represents the essence of the lower mind, and then moving up into the higher mind, to going into the right hemisphere of the brain, and to harmonize yourself. So Babylon in this context would represent the significator of an allegory pertaining to the recesses of the lower mind and illusion. Okay, so I hope that helps you. All right. All right. So that's a big question, I know. So anyways, everybody, thank you all for your questions today. Bree, thank you for being here. So again, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can check out my website, Readings with Breanne, or join me on my channel. Again, I'll be doing a live stream this Friday, and you can reach out for any questions, topics. I'm always doing videos on YouTube as well. So thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you for having me again.
Great. And she'll be back next month as well too for some more. And again, guys, thank you for your questions today. You had some really great questions. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all next week. Next week, we'll have some more Adronis transmission coming together and Q&A from the audience. Blessings to you all. Namaskar. Take care. And may it be well with you. Bye for now.